Welcome to another episode with Sean Land. On this channel, we foster and inspire the next generation of entrepreneurs in property, finance, and investing. Today's a very special day as we have our very first guest. And in my eyes, this guest is a celebrity. I got to meet this gentleman on my journey where I used to work in banking from the ages of 23 to 26. He added immensely to the wealth of knowledge that I've accumulated today and shaped my future, in my opinion. I'm glad to introduce today Mr. Jim Smith. This gentleman has been married, been through life, has had kids, grandchildren, been employed, self-employed, been made redundant, seen Black Friday, and many more occasions that have occurred in his life. And I believe he's got a wealth of experience with life itself. So welcome on the podcast, Jim.
Thank you very much, Sean. That's very kind words.
Yeah. How are you today?
I'm fine, actually. I'm really looking forward to our chat because I haven't had a good chat with you for a long time now.
Yes. Me and Jim haven't spoken for over 10 years and just recently we rekindled. And honestly, it felt like just yesterday we spoke.
It did. 10 years just flown past, really.
Definitely.
You've certainly come on a long way in that time.
Yeah, and I'm happy to share my sort of journey with you. I've obviously given a description of you, Jim, but can you tell us who is Mr. Jim Smith?
Well, that's a very big question there, isn't it? He's a 70-year-old man who's now married for the second time. Between me and my now wife, we have 6 children, 6 grandchildren, and I'm extremely happy, which I think is one of the things that one needs to aim for, to be happy in your life.
A lot of people out there don't find happiness, and mental health is a big thing right now, and they're always searching for something to make them happy. And these days you have things like social media, little quick wins that people get a quick high on, but they have that high and they reach that really low. What is happiness, Jim?
In my opinion, happiness is making the most of what you actually have, also having some goals, something else to try and achieve as well. I mean, I retired 4 years ago, and one of the things I thought when I stopped working was, what am I going to do with myself? Fortunately, with the children and the grandchildren, it's given me a lot to actually do with my time. And that's what you need, I think. You need something to aim at, no matter what stage you are in your life. But at the same time, you really want to make the best of what you've got and appreciate what you do actually have. Because we've all got something that is worthwhile.
Yes.
We've all achieved something in our lives, somewhere along there. So that's what gives me happiness, seeing my grandchildren and their attitude towards life is actually wonderful, because they don't worry about things. They'll say, you know, Grandad Jim, you've got no hair. Well, they're right. Grandad Jim has got no hair. So what? Does it matter? Not at all to me. To see them laugh and smile and be happy is just wonderful, as far as I'm concerned.
Brilliant. So it's just some of the smallest things can make you happy, and we don't need a lot, right?
What we need is enough. And I think that's one of the words that people tend to fail to appreciate. What is enough?
Yes. Jim, I met you on my journey while I was at banking. I knew at a very special time in my life because I was growing, I was really hungry, I really wanted to achieve something in life. And since then, I've gone on to go on to better, bigger and better things. In your experience, what factors, work ethics, does somebody need to make it? So what traits do you see in people on your journey with the young crowd that this person's going to become something, they're going to make it? What are them qualities?
One of the things I always saw in you, and I think I've said to you before now, is you were like a sponge. You would actually listen to everything that was going on around you, what people said, and you would filter out the things that you felt were good and that you could actually do and make use of. But it's listening to a lot of people and actually being aware of what's going around, rather than actually thinking you know it all. Because frankly, you don't. We've all got things to learn. I'm 70 years old and I'm learning about this podcast, is it, we're on at the moment? It's all new to me.
Yes.
So it doesn't matter what stage you are in your life, age-wise or career-wise, there's always something that you can learn. And you can learn it from people who are younger than you or older than you. Or you can actually turn off completely and you won't actually achieve anything.
So it's all about being open-minded, right?
Open-minded, and I think also adaptable. It's important to adapt to changes in circumstances, be they worldwide, be they within your own little small life sphere. You've got to be adaptable.
And if I envisage that, I see people like us being like a chameleon.
Oh, very much so.
You gotta change your colours to your surroundings. You've got to adapt to people around you. Another thing that we learned on some of our courses was something called mirroring.
Oh.
It's an art that's been lost. Tell me a little bit about mirroring, Jim. Tell me an experience where you've actually learnt about that and how you've actually used it and has helped you.
I think it was one of the most underrated courses I've ever been on, was the mirroring one. I actually didn't believe a word of what was going on while I was there, but I took it all in, and it's basically when you're talking to somebody else, everything they do, you mirror that. At the time we were in a sales environment. Sorry, I was, because it was before I met you. I was in a sales environment trying to sell one of the hardest things possible, life cover and pensions. What on earth is life cover? It's a piece of paper that you hope you'll never actually have to use. So I was going out into people's homes in the evening and trying to encourage them to have protection for their families, so if they did walk under a bus or something like that, at least they still had a roof over their children and their families had a roof over their head. And the mirroring was very much to do with when people are very defensive. If they have their arms crossed, their legs folded and things like that, they're very guarded. And the very first appointment I had after this course, I found exactly that. There was this man, 2 young children and a non-working wife with no mortgage protection, no life cover whatsoever. And there he was, arms folded. He didn't want to spend any money on this thing that he thought he'd never use, because he wasn't going to die, was he? People are never going to die, not in those situations. Anyway, I did exactly what they told us on the course, and as time went on, I unfolded my arms, so did he. A bit later on, while we were chatting, I uncrossed my legs, so did he. So he was opening up to me because he was mirroring what I was doing. And after that, eventually, he actually bought some life cover because he needed it.
And it was the right thing for him.
It was definitely the right thing for him.
And you just had to make him see that.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
And you got all that from a technique called mirroring. How do the young children, teenagers, mid-20s, how do people pick up certain skills such as these? Because a lot of these things are lost, and not everybody has a professional job that they've gone into and learn some of these factors. How do you think people can gain some of these experiences?
Well, I would like to think they're going to gain some from your podcast for a start. I mean, that's what these things are about, aren't they? So that people learn.
So mentorship.
Yes, mentorship. However that mentorship is, be it one-to-one or whether it's over videos and things like that.
And I want to touch on a subject which a lot of people don't show a lot of importance to nowadays, and that's family. You know, it feels like as soon as somebody's 16 or 18 years old, it feels like I'm on my own now, or I can do this by myself, or watch me do this. which is really good ethic to have, that you've got confidence within yourself. But I've always felt having family or really good friends who you consider as family as something that propelled myself in my journey. What's your view on family? And you have, as you said, 6 children, you have grandchildren. What's your thoughts on family and what that looks like and how people can benefit from that?
I think family is very important, and you don't obviously realise it, I think, when you're younger. Family are always there for you because they just are. You can always turn to your family if you need to. And at the end of the day, those people have actually, particularly your parents, they've given you the start in life. They've given you the ethics that you have. They've given you the attitudes that you start off with. Without them and their parents, your grandparents, without all those people, you wouldn't be the person you are today. So I think the family, the older family, are the making of you, and you then need to try and pass that on to your family, to your children, to make sure they've got the right attitudes, the right ethics, be it work ethics or just life ethics.
And all it costs is one thing, and that's called respect. You give a little bit of respect, and this person gives you 30, 40, 50 years wealth of experiences to you. Just like that. You don't have to pay for it.
No, that's it. They've often been there and done it already anyway. As I was saying earlier, older people have that one advantage. They've been young. Young people have never been old.
Absolutely. And, I'm sure we've all got grandparents, parents, an uncle, a cousin. These people are always in our network. There's not people we have to go and find. So don't say that, I don't have no one to talk to or no one's teaching me this. It's down to you to go and find them people because you need them. They don't need you.
That's right. You can waste your life without them, or you can go and actually take from their knowledge, basically.
Jim, look, you've got a wealth of experience.
70 years.
70 years. You've been through many different job roles, mainly in the financial sector. But I want to touch on something like, if you could go back to being 25 to 35, that sort of age gap, maybe half your life ago, and you could do something different, what would that be?
That's an interesting question. My knee-jerk reaction to that is actually I wouldn't do anything different, because everything I've done has got me to where I am now, and I've had enough and I'm happy. So that's my first reaction to it. I think being a bit deeper about it is probably I do some of the things that I didn't do. I don't actually regret anything that I did do, but there are things I didn't do in the past that perhaps if I had done, it would have been better. So that would be what I'd say. Don't worry about things that you do. Do things that you haven't done.
So if you was talking to your younger self now and you ever had doubts, what would you tell the younger Jim Smith?
Oh, I'd tell him not to be so nervous about everything. Because as a youngster, you tend to be nervous. Well, maybe I was old because I'm quite nervous about this, as you know. But there's nothing too bad out there. You tend to worry about things, lose sleep about things and that side of it, because you think of the worst might happen. And very, very rarely does the worst happen. It's always better than that.
There's a saying, Jim, that sometimes we suffer more in our thoughts than in reality.
There you go. That sums it up, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it's all an illusion. So remember one thing, guys. The past is gone. There's nothing you can do to change that. And the future, there are goals, yes, but don't look too far that you're so anxious. And the only thing we have right now is the present. And that's something we can change. And that's something we can focus on. So it's all about vibrating on that frequency and keep going and moving on in the present?
There's a line in a song, I can't remember where it's from, but it's something about don't lose tomorrow by reaching back for yesterday. Very similar.
Very good. We've touched on quite a few points today, Jim, and we've touched on mentorship. And mentorship, what does that look like? Is it a person? Is it someone on YouTube? Is it someone on Instagram that we follow? But a lot of information is actually passed on in books and in nowadays audiobooks as well that you can listen to. Are there any books that you've read that have had an impact or a change on you that you think some of our viewers, listeners will find beneficial, or even myself, because I haven't read a lot of books myself, to be honest, and I know every time I do read a reputable book, it does have some sort of, even if it's that one page, that one line, it does have a change in my thought processes and a direction of what I'm going to do next. It's like another tool in my armor, to use and to go out there. Is there anything you recommend?
There's no book that comes to mind that I would recommend. I'm not a great reader personally. I think what you said there about audiobooks, if there were more audiobooks when I'd have been younger, I think I'd have listened to more, because I'm not, I get bored reading, to be honest. So I read a lot of books. When I went my first career was 20 years of IT. Nothing to do with finance whatsoever, although some of it was in the money brokers, but it was IT based. When I went into a more sales environment, I read a lot of books about selling, how to sell to your first $1 million and so on and so on. And after about 2 or 3 chapters, I got very fed up with them, because they were just giving examples of how other people had done things, but not actually how they'd achieved it, just what they'd done. Later on, I read quite a number of books to do with the mind, and I'm a firm believer that the mind and how you look at things, how you think about things, having a positive attitude. And there's loads of books out there about positive attitudes and that type of thing. That's more important than reading that so-and-so has achieved this, that and the other, in my view, frankly. So, and also sometimes it depends on timing. Do you remember those cheese books that we had?
Cheese books? No.
Don't you? There's 2 books. It's Who Moved My Cheese and Who Stole My Cheese. And they're little stories. They're about mice, basically, surprisingly enough, because Who Moved My Cheese. Those 2, they're short stories. You can read them fairly quickly, and they encourage people to accept change. And that's one of the most difficult things, I think, for people to do, to accept change in their life.
Yes, I totally agree with you on that point. It was the number one thing, because people have a 9 to 5. They can achieve so much more, but people just don't like that change. They're afraid of change. Yeah. What would you say to somebody who's afraid to change? Because with change, there comes growth. Because you're in a place where you're uncomfortable, but once you get comfortable, you've achieved something, the next step up.
If you're not happy in the place you're in at the moment, there's only one person that can do something about that, and that's you. So you have to change. It's as simple as that. I think there was a saying that the first sign of madness was to actually do the same thing again and expect a different result. We all tend to do it. We've lost our car keys, so we look in all the places where we would normally find them, and we don't find them, so we then go back to where we first started looking, and we look again in all the same places. And it's balmy, because they weren't there last time, so they're not going to be there this time. So you should accept change.
Simplicity is what I'm getting here.
Yeah.
Something, just go back to basics.
It's the most important thing, basics.
It's a simple formula, guys. Whatever you put in is what you're going to get out. If you're going to put the same in, how do you expect a better results? If you're going to put more in and you're going to work harder, the output is going to be different.
Yeah, sometimes it's not just working harder, it's working more thoughtfully.
Smarter.
Yeah, smarter.
Yes. Jim, we talk about a lot of good things right now. and a lot of good things that have happened. But something what comes on our journey is failure. And how you deal with failure matters a lot, because if you fail and you stay down in the dumps, then it is a failure. But if you get up, dust off, and you keep going, then it's just a lesson. What's your biggest failure, and what did you learn from this?
Okay, failure is very much in the eye of the beholder, if you like. Everything that's good or bad that happens to us teaches us something. So you don't necessarily fail, you just didn't do that the right way. If you like, I remember the biggest failure, if that's what you want to call it, I had, was actually investing in a company when I should have actually looked at the people who are running the company more and the finances of the company. So I put money into this company, and for various reasons it went bankrupt after a little while. So I should have done more investigation. But I learnt from that. I learnt that actually you don't just jump at things, you do need to sometimes take a step back and actually investigate things. So that was failure, if you like.
So what I'm hearing is you tried to sort of almost take a shortcut to get rich. I mean, you saw an opportunity, you wanted to whack some money on there, and you just wanted to get money, and it didn't pull off because you hadn't done your real research. A lot of people do take a lot of shortcuts, you know. There's so much, you know, FOMO out there, and FOMO is feeling of missing out. So many people say, buy that NFT, and yeah, maybe there might be 2 gems, but there's thousands of fraud, you know, NFTs that are going on, and they just get rug pulled, and that means they just hit the floor straight away. A lot of people might not go the right way in life. They might want to say, look, the only thing I know is go on the streets and sell a certain something, or do a certain job that's not quite, you know, the right thing, but it earns me money now and later. But they end up getting addicted to what they're doing, and it leads them on the wrong path. What would you say to somebody, you know, because I know, and you know, there's only a couple of ingredients to become successful in life, and that's hard work and consistency, and just keep dusting off every single day and get up, and I can go and do this. No one's gonna stop me. You've hit a bad day, no problem, there's always tomorrow, and we go. And it's not gonna happen overnight. And you set yourself goals and tasks and say, look, in 5 years time I'm gonna get there, and you break it down. But that means every year I need to do this. That means divide that by 12 months, and every month I need to get to this figure to get that yearly figure to get there in 5 years and to move on to the next step. What advice would you give somebody to stay in that zone, to vibrate in that energy, to say, you know, nothing is a quick win, and yeah, if I do get lucky on the way, that's going to help, you know, propel me. But what does somebody need to have in their mind to say, I will make it, but it will take time, and I've just got to stay on this grind? Because sometimes it's easy when you're sitting with somebody for 2-3 hours and going, yeah, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and I'm capable of this. And then as soon as you leave that person, after a few hours, you hit a low and go, whoa, how you lose that momentum. How does somebody keep in that zone and keep that momentum up?
Well, to start with, they need